He's exposed the government protecting radical Islamists before. The government, the FBI all know who Zach is. But Zach, why haven't you decided to give your full name and stuff just to everybody? Because the government and the globalists, everybody else, when the FBI's come and picked you up for stuff you said on the show and taking you back to the military base to be, shoot out with the other officers, to be threatened, even though they support what you do, I know overall, but they have to go through the motions. Why not just say who you are soon?
Yes, I mean, that'll be coming very soon, actually, and we could discuss that, maybe even do that reveal there in Austin, Texas. That'd be great. Just in the interim, working with some private groups and doing some think tank engineering. It's sort of best for security reasons and some sort of operational things I have going on. But the reveal and full disclosure, I guess you know who I am, people know who I am, but can become public very soon, and I hope to do that with you.
Thank you. I'd love to do it. I'd love to fly you here. I'd love to have you in the studio. And folks I talked to at the Pentagon say you're a great patriot. Before we even started having you on more, we obviously checked into you and found out who you were. And then asked you, and you obviously confirmed all that. Zach, where are we right now with this Seth Rich situation? Was my analysis earlier pretty accurate?
Sure, and we have a lot of dots connect, and that's definitely one we're going to get into. It's my opinion. This is the intel and the sort of best thinking on this. We believe that Seth Rich's mother, wanting to silence and stop the investigations into her son's murder, may be threat based to her and her family. You see, Seth Rich was assassinated for being a patriot. He was clipped by the deep state and far left factions for obvious reasons. And, they use MS-13 assassins to do their dirty work, which consist of political assassinations, threat, blackmail stateside, as well as gun and weapon running. And
that's why Trump has called out MS-13, because that is now confirmed the arm of the Democratic Party.
Absolutely. So in his speech, this is exactly what I'm going to get into. His speech at Miramar, at the air station there in San Diego, he used the term specifically protecting the homeland. And this is in conjunction with the MS-13 information, which ties in with Seth Rich, because he was assassinated. The thinking is, we believe, that it was an MS-13 assassin team, which does a lot of the deep state's dirty work there, not only running guns, running weapons, doing drug operations and money laundering. Yes, they're committing political assassinations here stateside.
And our sources said this 3 years ago, but they've even caught them now in the Middle East shipping guns to ISIS. You said this 6 months ago. It's now come out that the Kurds are communist and are training with Antifa in the Middle East. That's now mainstream news.
Absolutely. And with the executive order signed by Trump putting our country into a state of emergency, these individuals obviously become enemy combatants. So we're not going to have ICE and the Border Patrol have our plans tipped off and foiled. We're going to go in with Marines, with DOD, and round these individuals up, as well as other enemy combatants, as was going on in Phoenix, Arizona about a week ago. They had urban military training in Phoenix, Arizona. They're in the streets in Phoenix, and people, were worried about it, thinking what's going on here. This is what's going to have to happen with the executive order being signed. This is all legal and on the up and up. These people are enemy combatants, and make no mistake, it doesn't matter if they're foreign or domestic. They're aiding and abetting terrorists. They're committing political assassinations here stateside, and Trump is going to utilize the military to the fullest of his legal capacity with his executive order.
Well, I was told by other sources a year ago that Trump took the gloves off with the Mexican Mafia, MS-13, all of it, and that they were just being wiped out already.
Oh yeah, it's come a long way, but the mainstream gangs and the MS-13 factions, yeah, they're doing that. They're doing a great job of that. But there's deeper sections that operate under the MS-13 umbrella that are essentially foreign intelligence agencies, is what they are, and they're being used in a political capacity, and it's way out of control. That's why Trump's continued to use the MS-13 name specifically.
And by the way, stay there. If anybody doubts this, I know some folks in the 70s and 80s with big crime problems in Chicago that the Army teams were used to wipe out a bunch of folks in Chicago. So that what we're getting into is something the public doesn't know about but does go on. All right, Zach, stay right there. Zach is giving us information with INFOWARS.com. He's saying some of these Marine operations on the ground are not just drills, but are covers for wiping out MS-13. That's why the Democrats are so upset, giving them sanctuary in places like Oakland and telling them to resist, because this is sedition by foreign powers. We'll be right back. Stay with us. When you purchase products that you and your family need, it moves the world. Now, for the next 6 minutes in the next segment, Zach's 100% got the floor. Recap what you said's happening right now, tied into Seth Rich, and then all the other things that are going on. I know you want to talk about Trump's been hinting at releasing more of the disruptive technology, the globalists call it, more of the stuff that could cause a whole new boom that makes the dot-coms look like a joke, more NASA info. Zach, our great intel source, please continue.
Yes, so we have so many stories breaking right now that all kind of interconnect. But yeah, the stealth-rich information kind of ties in with this next point, which is the diplomatic flanking maneuvering. The firing and hiring of the Secretary of State and CIA director in recent days are of the utmost importance. This, in conjunction with the chain of command shakeup at Guantanamo Bay, will be an incredible diplomatic and military flanking maneuver to tighten the noose for this geopolitical precision decapitation of the rogue deep state actors and enemy combatants. They have been sabotaging our safety and prosperity for years, and this is critical. So there's a lot of criticism of Gina Haspel's, the nomination to head up the CIA, because of her following the orders of past administrations. But the reality, of course, is very different, and Trump knows this and has her vetted. Having an upper middle management individual who knows all the ongoing plans and players of the past administrations and wants to see change and be a part of
an American
first CIA. Absolutely, is the ideal person. So, and also having Pompeo there at the State Department is incredible. These two, in conjunction with the Guantanamo Bay shakeup, will flank and really tighten the noose on these people, and it's happening all along the planet. It's going to happen, and this is unprecedented. We said on the show last year, first year salvage, second year savage. This is occurring, and Rex Tillerson's speech there, his farewell speech, very eerie, very cryptic. The first half of it, very bizarre. In certain respects, he learned of this information while in Kenya, and he knew it was coming for a long time. But Trump is pretty savvy in what he's doing, and he put him out there, got out of him as much as we could, and really saw where people laid there. But Tillerson had nothing to do with North Korea, wasn't happy about the North Korea information, but was working on some other fronts to include Iran, which Trump is not happy with. But now that he's got Tillerson out of there, now that he has the CIA head that he wants eventually to be in there, this is going to flank them. We're going to close in on them, and they're done here. And the world wants to see it as well. This for the first time for decades, we have a pure chance here at global cooperation and possibly peace. This is unprecedented, and it's going to occur. And it starts at the homeland. That speech at Miramar at the air station to thousands of Marines was critical. He laid it all out. He's been doing it for months and months and months. And he could have come out in the first couple months and do this, but he did it in, I think, a more savvy and strategic way, where he allowed some individuals with connections from past administrations to really show their true colors and really ferret out what the issues were. Now he knows where people lie, absolutely, and he's putting the people in there.
So you're saying he had to let their stay-behind network operate so they could spy on that and then understand how to pull the whole thing down?
Absolutely. Just absolutely surveil them, give them a false sense of security that they're, going to still be working on part of it. But he knows exactly what's going on. That's why Tillerson, while in Kenya, unexpectedly gets fired as the North Korea information is, brought forward. And Iran will be next. The Iran information will be next. We spoke about it I think it was 3 or 4 months ago when Ted Malek was on. I said, look, the Iran shakeup will be next, and it will not be kinetic. As the North Korea stuff, after North Korea stuff is going on. When the CIA, deep state-backed factions aren't double-crossing and sabotaging us here in the States, and as well as, our foreign allies and even enemies, it makes things a lot easier. World peace and, cooperation becomes unobtainable when you have all this double-crossing.
And exactly, they want a strategy of tension and global chaos so they can be in control. People ask, why is the economy coming back so easy? Why is Trump able to get all these deals with Saudi Arabia and Israel and everybody else and North Korea so quickly? And it's because it's straight dealing now.
Absolutely, it's all occurring, and the far left faction are absolutely freaking out, and you're going to see a lot more false flags. Obviously, they have not stopped since the political assassinations of character that you're experiencing, and several other patriots.
Yeah, what do you make of this temper tantrum? I'm told that they're having all their networks cut off, not just by you, but other high-level confirmed sources. They say this is a temper tantrum.
Yeah, they're losing it. The financing's gone. The DNC has no money to begin with, but even their covert funding, that they've been running on for a long time is all sucked up. It's out of Saudi Arabia. The deep state's out of there. Their only hope here is China, and China's has no loyalty to them. Truly, they just want power and sort of projected power. So Trump's strong, he's present, and their money's drying up, and they're realizing that they've picked their sides, and they've really picked the wrong side here.
Oh yeah, I went and saw Annihilation with my wife last night, and of course a Chinese guy is the boss. And my sister's Korean. I'm going to guess Asians. Every Hollywood movie now, China saves us. You know, from The Martian to all these movies, you can see that Hollywood's been taken over by China and the Chinese government programming in the movies, and they admit they're doing that. But from Arrival to this new movie Annihilation, it's just like. The programming is incredible. We'll be right back in 2 minutes with Zach. Please spread the word. News articles, been in national television as a patriot, decorated individual that works in other clandestine areas, non-Army Special Operations now. And he comes on the show, and just the info he gives us is right lined up with my other sources and what they say is going on. So you were continuing. This is a short segment, a little bit longer segment coming up with this total war we're in. And the left is getting more shrill, more panic, more crazy. But suddenly I've seen some of them, the Joy Behars, Hillary Clinton's former campaign manager, they're all coming out saying, okay, we're sorry, Hillary needs to go away. Maybe Trump's not that bad. I'm starting to see them realize that they've lost.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the more they start picking at it, they're going to, if they really want investigations, they better be careful, you know, what they're wishing for, because they're going to get it. And it's really going to uncover what's really been done here. So now you see them, a lot of the deep state actors in the far left, they're really playing this Russian card real hard. And we just got to be clear here. We cannot blame the entire Russian Federation for the actions of rogue deep state actors who happen to be Russian. But make no mistake, they're being ran by the same deep state that sabotages our country, that attacks our country just like anywhere else.
Explain to people that Russia is infiltrated by the same globalists we are, and to claim that, oh, it's coming from IP addresses in Russia. I mean, that's the easiest way to frame somebody ever.
Absolutely. I mean, these are pretty murky and difficult waters to decipher. But, you know, yeah, technically they are Russian. But they're deep state actors. They're enemies of the Russian Federation. So you can't just tie somebody's name to it and, you know, blame an entire...
Well, that's like Russian bots sending Michael Moore to a demonstration anti-Trump. Most of it's anti-Trump.
It's real dangerous. And, you know, especially with this, they're expelling them in the UK they're having some real issues here, and Trump's kind of signing on to it. But I got a feeling that Trump and Putin have communicated quite well, and he's really letting, you know, everyone see what's going on here.
So you think this is for public consumption so that the globalists can't push this Russian narrative?
Yeah, there's no question. This happens right when Tillerson about to leave, right when the CIA gets the shakeup, there. And
so Trump's neutralizing his flank.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, Tillerson telling people to remain at their posts in that farewell speech is very bizarre, and it needs to be looked into. And, of course, a lot of people are looking into it. But, you know, Russia here is fighting a war in Syria that, you know, with all due respect, we started over decades. So they're actually physically, you know, taking care of this, you know, this radical Islamic threat. They're getting their name dragged through the mud with the collusion crap. And now all of a sudden they're being attributed to all these assassinations around the world to these individuals who happen to be Russian connected. Yeah, it's there's bad factions in Russia, but to blame the entire federation that's trying to get on its feet is really dangerous, and it gets real hard to decipher because technically they are Russian.
And right before the Putin election, they do something in the Russian factions to embarrass Putin.
Absolutely.
And then they leave a trail so the British MI6, famously corrupt, can wave that in front of Trump and make him blame Russia.
Absolutely. Get us involved in a major real kinetic conflict that will stifle and stop all the progress that we're making globally and give them cover to, you know, do other things behind the scenes from a deep state level.
So that's the globalist endgame, is start a bigger war to derail America coming back.
That's their last big blow. That's all they got here. Their funding's drying up. They have to pull out all the stops. They're going to go for broke, and you know this is pretty good cover for them to try to just buy time, because that's all they got, because they are hurtling toward the inevitable. They're done. They're going to be prosecuted. The money's gone. But if they can't somehow get us into a war with Russia, make no mistake, it will be a distractory enough event to provide some cover and just buy them time.
Let's talk about that. How do we stop the globalists triggering a war with Russia with Zach on the other side? Couldn't be a more important topic than Leanne's coming in. Stay with it. Areas of clandestine industry in the government. And he's a great source. We have had so many things he breaks down here on air end up coming true or unfolding. A lot of what he talks about dovetails with QAnon. But my other sources in the Pentagon and other areas, they're saying the same things. It's just that, Zach, you get to hear from somebody who's got that same understanding and mindset to give you that best thinking perspective. So now you've got this former GRU colonel out of Russian intelligence who's been in the UK over a decade. He ends up with his daughter getting nerve gassed out on a porch outside of a little shop, a little 5 and dime grocery store. They get found, they get taken in critical condition. Then we hear, oh, within days, it's the Russians, they did it. And Zach's saying the intel he's got is that there's a trail back to Russia to make it look like that. Well, Russia's 160, 170 million people. It's 3 times geographically the size of the U.S. Just like Soros spends billions trying to overthrow Russia, 80% of the Russian bots, which were still small compared to other bots, were just, that's how you get around campaign finance law. You go spend money in a foreign country, and then you affect the election. There were hundreds of countries that had bots, and most of it was for Hillary. You remember during the campaign, Hillary was being shoveled down your throat. Conservatives were getting blocked and all the rest of it. So then 600,000 Twitter users that ever had a Russian bot post on their page, you know, just a comment, oh, you're now a Russian agent. So Zach was getting into the attempts by the globalists, by the leftist stay-behind networks to trigger a war with Russia. It's all they've got left with their networks drying up. So we've got 7 minutes left before we go to break, come back with Leanne McAdoo. Recap all that critical information, Zach, and then roll through it in any other points.
Yes, you know, and basically what's going on, I mean, it's not hard to figure out. And I know that the White House knows this just due to the collusion fiasco. You know, they're drawing all these things that there's nothing there. They know there's nothing there. So when Russia's being persecuted for all these issues, it's not too hard to tell that this is ridiculous and it's along the same thinking. It's the same people. We can't blame the entire Russian Federation for the actions of rogue deep state actors who happen to be Russian. And obviously our intel communities know this, and the White House obviously knows this. There's some things out here for public consumption that are going on, but Trump knows what's going on, and eventually, you know, Trump and Putin will get along, and this will all work out, I'm sure of. But, you know, when you start doing things like this, things escalate very quickly, so we do have to keep an eye on it. But this is all meant to give them cover and just buy them time. All while, in that speech at Miramar, Trump also, while talking to the Marines, spoke about the Space Force. So this is what they're trying to stifle, because this is the big...
And by the way, you said that months ago. You said Trump's going to announce big stuff in space, and that's on record.
This is it. This is the future. In that speech at Miramar, Trump announced the Space Force to be created. You know, he says in the speech, we're going to make Colonel John Glenn proud. He speaks of going to Mars very soon as well. Then he emphasized that we would be doing none of this if Hillary Clinton had even won, because they do not want there to be a multiplanetary future that's human-based. You know, that's more ground for them to cover.
And by the way, that's what Musk and others have said. That's what I've said decades ago. The globalists want a transhumanist into our life form, merging with machines, total power trip. And Trump and this whole movement is just about having a human future. Doesn't mean Trump's perfect, but this is a pragmatic, pro-capitalist human future where humans get to decide what they want to do with their own personal evolution.
Absolutely, and you know, a lot of this information started to come out now. Under the past administrations, space exploration was completely just dampered and just, you know, handcuffed for obvious reasons. They got to keep us fighting at each other's necks. They got to play the race card, because there's only one race that matters once you go multiplanetary, and that's the human race. That's really hard to fight against each other if you realize we're all of the same blood type. We're all of the same blood. We're all of the same.
And there's unlimited space, unlimited resources.
You go multiplanetary, the race car gets thrown right out the window, because we have to, you know, broaden our horizons, really start thinking outside of the box, and they know that, and that's just something that happens immediately when we leave this planet and go to the moon and set up bases, and go to Mars and set up bases. And this is not conspiratorial. This is Elon Musk just a week ago.
This is a fact. I mean, they put out their leftist conspiracy theory that space travel doesn't happen. It's got to all be robot. Let's talk about these new systems they discovered.
Absolutely. So, you know, Thomas Zurbuchen, the NASA Science Mission Director, comes out with the TRAPPIST-1 system, the discovery of it. They're looking at it. And what the TRAPPIST-1 system is a group of 7 planets with atmospheres much like our own. And, you know, he explains that finding a second Earth is not a question of if, but when. And this is the working theory. This is what we're going towards. But it's specifically at the helm of it. This is going to be a pro-human expansion. This is going to be a pro-human exploration, and you know, the Silicon Valley sultans can't stand this in real time, as Trump is telling the troops that we're going to have a space force, as we're having,
because they want a total monopoly here on Earth with us into their forced reality, into their false reality to play God. They don't want the big expansion, and people say, oh, it's impossible. Folks, we're already 99% there with the technology we've got. Well, look how far we've already come. We're unstoppable. Go ahead.
Absolutely. And, at the same time, Trump's laying this all out with his National Space Council and he's speaking to the Marines. Elon Musk is in the ATX in Austin there in your backyard, speaking at South by Southwest, supporting and reaffirming what the president is laying out because, of course, they're working closely together via the DOD. And Elon laid it all out for the world to hear, specifically the anti-humanity Silicon Valley sultans and the globalists. He loudly emphasized that human civilizations are coming to the moon. Human civilizations are coming to Mars. And, he speaks in straightforward terms and warns of the AI. He says if people haven't watched that speech that happened about a week ago, they need to watch it. He says he says he is as close to it as anybody, and it scares the hell out of him. He says the advent of AI is more dangerous than nuclear warheads by leaps and bounds, without question. And he calls on President Trump to form a human public panel to oversee all of it. He says it's much more than the nuclear weapons. We have people overseeing all the nuclear weapons, of course. We have to have a human.
And that's what I've always been saying is we need a human preservation defense league. And we have to, because the globalists, again, are such human haters, they believe they're going to become this new alien. And the media always says, oh, Jones claims that Silicon Valley are aliens. No, they all say that they believe they're going to become these transcendent gods. This is their weird satanic religion. And it's so good to suddenly see this all over the news. But I'm not bragging, but I've been warning everyone for 20 years, reading what the globalists were saying and doing. And I'm just wondering, when you were in the military a decade ago or so, were people talking about this then? How is it all suddenly, everything we talk about is now the front page?
Yeah, it's been going on. It's been planned for quite some years. It's been stifled and kind of held back because people didn't want this to happen. But now that Trump's in the White House, it's all really come to fruition and it's coming out. And, it's inevitable and it's going to happen if we're not sabotaged. And Trump's doing everything in his power not to allow us to be sabotaged. While he's addressing the Marines and letting them know that we're going to the stars, you have Elon Musk at South by Southwest saying the advent of digital superintelligence must be symbiotic with humanity. It must be symbiotic with humanity. He emphasizes over and over and over. Then he calls on entrepreneurs to support him because they're going to need industry and infrastructure on the moon and Mars in the future. This is the push for the future. And this is what they're trying to suppress because they have a real problem with interpersonal affairs playing the race card when we leave this planet because we're all of one race.
Sure, and if you look at everything the globalists do, splitting men and women, splitting people because of color, it's all like it's an alien force. The globalists sabotaging anything we're going to do because they think, oh, investment in space takes away from us. No, it's a non-zero-sum game. You create, all of our new economies came out of the space race. The whole new system has to come from off-world investment. That's what we've got to do. That's what creates the new economy.
Absolutely, and this is the future. It's just incredible to witness this all. We're actually living in it. We're a part of it, and to be caught up and to just be, just held down and have an anchor around our ankles with just internal conflicts that are fabricated is ridiculous. And Trump's calling them out, and with the shuffle going on, the diplomatic flanking of the CIA director, the State Department, Guantanamo Bay, our foreign allies, really doing everything, we are allowing ourselves to unshackle from those binds and really go to the stars because it's inevitable.
That's right. Well, it's that or destroy ourselves, and the globalists are a breakaway civilization siphoning everything off for themselves to do this. They don't want this for everybody. Amazing, Zach. Thank you for the time. Look forward to having you here in person very soon and releasing your identity to folks. We'll be right back with critical breaking news with Leanne McAdoo, your calls and more. Stay